Oh boy, certain people are not going to be happy that I'm making this video. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Steven's Fight Show. Alright, so in this video we're going to be talking about KSI returning to the ring this week, and I'm personally excited. He was originally scheduled to fight Dillon Danis, but that fight fell through because Dillon Danis pulled out. What a shame it is. We were about to see Dillon get punched up, and he didn't even do what he was supposed to do, fight. So hence, now we have a replacement fight for KSI, which is Faze Temper. Now, I'll be the first to say it, I am a KSI fan outside and inside the boxing ring, and this Misfits card is projected to be a very good card. Like, pretty much every single fight on this card is worth watching. We got Faith Ordway versus Elle Brook. I think that's going to be a good fight. Salt Poppy versus Josh Bruckner would be a good fight as well. That fight has the potential to be fight of the night. Idris Virgo versus Anthony Taylor. That's also going to be a good fight. Slim versus Tom Zanetti is an okay fight in my opinion. I'm only saying that because I don't know anything about Tom Zanetti, but I guess we'll see. And before we discuss this matchup between KSI and Faze Temper, I first want to talk about why I'm making this video. Anybody that's watching this video right now who has watched my previous content would know that I make videos on professional combat sports. If you take a second to scroll through my channel right now, you would see a lot of content on UFC and professional boxing. However, influencer boxing typically gets a lot of hate from professional fighting fans. A lot of people think it's a joke or a circus act, but straight up for me personally, I don't believe so. I could think of so many reasons why influencer boxing has a place in the world, but that's a whole different conversation. However, my point is, you can say what you want, but I'm all for influencer boxing. And the truth is, without influencer boxing, I would have never became a fight fan in the first place. Quite frankly, I started watching boxing because of KSI. Yeah, I said it. I'll admit it. I'm a fight fan because of influencers. And it's safe to say that without influencer boxing, I wouldn't even know what combat sports is. I fell in love with combat sports because I started watching my favorite YouTubers fight in the ring. So for me, I'll always back influencer boxing. I think it's absolutely great for the world, and anybody that thinks otherwise, you're completely lost. And honestly, I'm down to debate with anybody on why influencer boxing is valid. Alright, so in this fight with KSI and Faze Temper, I want to say I believe in this fight, we should be very critical of his performance, and let me explain why. So we all know the master plan from KSI, and it's to fight Jake Paul at the end of this year. FYI, I believe that is a terrible idea. If he wants the best chance to beat Jake, he can't fight him this year. His last fight against two people in one night was a bummer, but not because of him. And his last fight before that was him versus Logan Paul in a rematch, and that took place in November 2019. Between the time of his rematch against Logan Paul and his fight with Swarms and Pineda, it had been about 1,015 days since he's been out the ring. That's a long time to be out of the ring. During that time, Jake has been fighting professional fighters, whereas KSI was working on music, YouTube, and other businesses. So his last fight against two people in one night should be considered somewhat of a pass because he had been out of the ring for a very long time, and it was supposed to be a fight for him to get back into the fighting pool. The competition was not good, hence those fights were really nothing to go off of. And in those fights, there were some improvements within his game, but we didn't get to see where his level is truly at. We don't know how much he's truly improved yet. However, in this fight against Temper, we'll find out where KSI's level is at, because Temper is good enough to give KSI a competitive fight. And this will be a real assessment to see if he is truly ready to fight somebody like Jake Paul. Because the thing is, you have to remember, fans don't think KSI versus Jake Paul is going to be close. In fact, when you go online and you look at any comments or any opinions about this fight, they think Jake Paul is going to smoke KSI easily. However, in KSI's head, he thinks otherwise. He thinks he's the best. He thinks he's levels above Jake Paul. And Jake Paul, he's given us a reason to believe why he's the best influencer boxer. KSI hasn't, but he will get his opportunity this Saturday. And if he is the fighter that he says he is, then it will build hype for the Jake Paul fight. But let's say he struggles and there are a lot of mistakes that are going to be displayed, then the hype for the Jake Paul fight will slowly die. Because you can't go from having a hard fight against Temper, and then you fight either Joe Fournier, Tyron Woodley, or Slim, and then fighting Jake Paul at the end of the year. To me, that makes absolutely zero sense. If anything, it's a bit ludicrous. And this is exactly why we can't sweet talk KSI's performance in this fight, and we gotta say it like how it is. And that's what it really comes down to for me. Is KSI really who he says he is, or is it just all a facade? So my prediction for this fight, I truly believe KSI can stop Temper inside 4 rounds if he does everything that he is supposed to do, not what he wants to do. Through all of KSI's fights, he has shown us that he has exceptional cardio aggression, and power. The technique has been the most criticized thing about his boxing, and although he did tighten up some of his mistakes, there were still old habits that were present in his arsenal. On the other hand, Temper, he is a long-rangey fighter. He is a 6'4" southpaw, which sounds awful to hear if you're someone that is fighting him. He has shown a very technical display of boxing throughout all of his fights. He operates behind the jab very well, has good straight punches, a good ability to throw counter shots, and tends to stay on the outside to maintain distance. Essentially, he's making the most out of his advantages, which are his reach and size. And this is why this fight is very interesting, because both of these guys are two completely different fighters. However, there is a mistake from Temper that he makes in all of his fights that he has paid for very badly, and he'll pay for it again if he makes the same mistake. And that is his inability to keep his chin tucked. And the thing is, even though it's a mistake, it's a natural thing for him to do. Since he's one of the biggest people in influencer boxing, he likes to fight tall. However, when you fall into the habit of fighting too tall, your chin tends to hang up in the air. Teddy Atlas explained that fighting tall is like a big building where people try to break in through the windows, and that is what has been happening to Temper. You can see in so many exchanges that his chin is just chillin'. Another issue with Temper is that he's a bit one-dimensional, which isn't really a mistake, it's more of a weakness. Since he's a long fighter, he likes to stay at range and pick guys apart to win fights. However, the thing is, when you break that range and you're able to get on the inside, that's where you can inflict the most damage. Slim took advantage of it, and King Kenny took advantage of it in one round of their fight. Against KSI, if you can't get him off of you and get your respect, immediately he's going to walk you down. I mean, he was able to walk Logan Paul down. And it's not that Temper has to fight well on the inside, it's just it can't be a weakness that people can exploit. That's what it means to be a one-dimensional fighter. And Faze Temper, he reminds me of Vladimir Klitschko. Klitschko was a fighter who likes to jab a lot and use the basics of straight punches to keep his opponents at bay. And when his opponents would close the range down, he would clinch. And when I see Temper fight, I'm getting the same vibes. So if you combine those two issues where his chin is up in the air and he can't fight on the inside, that's where all the problems lie. Offensively, he's pretty solid, but defensively, he's going to have to be disciplined. For KSI to win this fight, he has to do a few things. He is the smaller fighter, so he has to put Temper on his back immediately. He needs to use the jab more in this fight, even though they're in a closed stance. It's orthodox versus southpaw, and usually jabs they don't land very often, but use it to execute what you want to do. He has to continuously attack the body as well. Temper has stated that he believes KSI is going to have a hard time hitting him, and that's already a clue of what he wants to do. So it would be wise for KSI to attack the body and slowly break him down. He needs to also cut off the ring and vary his offense. In his last fight, he did not do a good job of cutting off the ring. I felt like he was also very predictable in his offense as well. I want to see KSI pull off many different tools in his offense in this fight. I don't want to see just the overhand and the right body shot. I want to see some left hooks down to the body, jabs to the body. I don't want to see him being limited within his offense. And he needs to throw combinations and feints as well. If KSI throws combinations, it'll give Temper less opportunities to counter. And I think it's important for KSI to draw out Temper's attack to further execute his offense. Don't overcommit on certain shots and give Temper opportunities to counter and pick you off. And obviously his cardio, heart, grit, and determination will always be there. For Temper to win this fight, I think he's going to have to land the jab consistently. He has to throw multiple jabs as well. He has to almost stick it in his face to let KSI know that he has to work to get on the inside. I think he also needs to avoid the ropes and keep the fight in the center of the ring. I think if he's up against the ropes, it's going to be troubling for him. And a big reason for that is because that is where KSI is most dangerous. He has to be wise with his shot selection, he needs to pace himself correctly, and most importantly, keep that chin tucked. He also can't get into too many exchanges where he's trading with KSI. He needs to box, not fight. We've seen many people try to fight with KSI and it usually doesn't go well. So with my official prediction, I think if KSI is composed and he comes with a strategic game plan, I believe he will finish Temper inside 4 rounds. I think as soon as the bell rings, KSI is going to pressure Temper immediately to not give up ground for him to work. I think Temper will be up against the ropes early, and I see KSI landing hard shots to the body and head. And overall, I think Temper is going to have a hard time getting KSI off of him. And that's largely due to the fact that he's never seen anybody like KSI, and he's not used to somebody being in his face constantly. I don't think Temper is going to be able to deal with KSI's pace. And he might land a few good shots, he might land a few jabs, a few straight left hands, but the fight itself is going to be controlled by KSI in my opinion. And I think after 3 rounds, either Temper is going to slow down or KSI is going to hurt Temper to the body, and that's going to open up the overhand right over the top that lands, and we get a highlight reel KO. And with this fight, I'm having a feeling that we're going to get an approach from KSI where he's more methodical and calculated within his aggression. And quite frankly, it's what he needs to do to win this fight in an exciting fashion. I think as long as KSI isn't headhunting, he'll be fine. And for Temper, I think if he's defensively sound, he'll be okay as well. So that is my official prediction. I think KSI will KO Temper in round 4 or less. And that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for listening to what I have to say. And let me know, who do you have winning this fight and why? KSI or Temper? Do you think KSI should fight Jake Paul at the end of this year? Who is next for KSI if he beats Temper? Drop a comment and let me know in the comment section down below. Now if you guys enjoy content that is related to combat sports, please drop a like on this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel down below. That would be greatly appreciated. Make sure you guys follow me on my Twitter as well. I post tweets about fights, combat sports, and different sports outside of combat sports. So please give it a follow so you don't miss out on my thoughts and reactions to certain fight news and updates. And other than that, it's been Steven, signing out. Peace!